वक्रतुण्डाय नमः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। Okay. Today we are going to talk about rules. There always seem to be so many rules around us. Do this, don't do this, not to do it in a certain way, do it in a certain way. Don't watch too much TV, don't eat chocolate, don't have ice cream, don't have too much ice cream. And there are rules for grown-ups too. There are rules that say you cannot drive more than 35 miles per hour. You cannot drive more than 55 miles per hour. You have to go to work at a certain time. You have to work for a certain time before you get a paycheck. There seems to be so many rules all around us. There seems to be so many rules around us in life all the time. Why? Wouldn't life be so much easier if there were no rules? We can do whatever we want, eat how much ever we want, not listen to anybody. There is a fundamental characteristic of all of us. Fundamental characteristic is self-preservation. Given complete and total freedom to do anything that we want, it is in our nature to run after self-preservation, which makes us comfortable. Watch as much TV as you want, we'll keep watching TV, not doing any work. Eat as much as you want, we'll eat and eat and eat until our tummy hurts. And I experienced it just last weekend. I went to Canada. I went on 190 north, which was about 55 miles per hour, thereabouts, till you hit the bridge. And then as soon as I crossed the bridge and went to Canada, I started racing at 80 miles per hour, 85 miles per hour, though the speed limit was only 60. Now, in my subconscious, I had already programmed myself that there are not as many cops in Canada as they are in the US or in New York. Already programmed. And as soon as I crossed the bridge, I started speeding. Without rules that govern our living, it is very easy to do things without limits. And therefore, we wouldn't know the difference most of the time between right and wrong. And even if we know the difference between right and wrong, somehow something will tell us it is okay to go fast. It is okay to overspeed. It is okay to eat as much as you want. It is okay to sit 1 inch away from the TV and watch the TV. Anything would be okay if there were no rules, if nobody told us anything, if nobody told us day after day after day in the morning, if you want to go to school, you go to school. If you don't want to go, don't go. After some time, we'll just give up, not go. Rules bring a certain conformity to our lives. Rules bring a certain discipline to our lives. And it is in our nature that we will resist the discipline. An important reason why these shlokas, though most of us don't know the meaning of the shlokas, important reason why they become necessary in our lives is when we recite a shloka, it brings about a certain mindset. It says, calm us down, pay attention, focus, respect, reverence, God, prayer. It brings a lot of things into our head which are necessary for whatever activity we are going to do next. For example, if we have the habit of reciting a shloka before we do a homework, the homework will be done with a lot more focus, a lot more ease, a lot more discipline. It is very important to generate that discipline, generate that focus. So the story that we are going to talk about today is about such a discipline that the Pandavas gave to themselves. Now, the Pandavas were ruling in Indraprastha, Kauravas were ruling in Hastinapura. And one day, Sage Narada visited them. Now, when Sage Narada comes, he always comes with some dicey news. Nobody knows what it is. So Sage Narada came and he said, they invited him, made him sit down. He said, Pandavas, I have a story to tell you. Yudhishthira said, okay, what story? He said, long ago, there were two brothers called Sunda and Upasunda. Two brothers called Sunda and Upasunda. And they were asuras. They were very bad people. They went around tormenting the entire world. But they were scared. They were scared that one day the gods will come and fight them and defeat them. So they prayed. They prayed to God and they asked for a boon. The boon was that they cannot be killed by anybody else other than each other. That only the other brother can defeat or kill them. That was the boon they asked. Now, why did they ask that boon? These brothers were very close. They were evil people, but they were very close. So they were absolutely sure, no matter what happened, we wouldn't go against each other. So if the boon is we can only die at the hands of each other, we can never die. We can be immortal. We can live forever. So they asked that boon, got that boon, and they became even more evil. Now the gods were smart. They came up with a plan. They said they went to this architect called Vishwakarman and said, can you make a beautiful looking woman for me? Like really beautiful. Most beautiful woman in the whole world. And Vishwakarman made such a woman. She was called Tilottama. And Tilottama approached Sunda and Upasunda when they were intoxicated. She approached them, and Sunda and Upasunda started saying, wow, what a beautiful girl, I want to marry her. And both of them said it. And Sunda told Upasunda, I saw her first, I have to marry her. Upasunda said, no, I saw her first, I have to marry her. And they started fighting. And eventually, they defeated and killed each other. So Narada told the story and said, Pandavas, you are united today, but you share Draupadi. So there is always a chance, however remote that chance is, no matter how close you are, there is always a chance that there could be some disagreement between you on account of Draupadi. So put some rules in place in order to prevent that from happening. And Narada left. Yudhishthira and the other Pandavas thought about it and said, he is right, we have to put some rules in place. So they put this rule in place. They said, when one of us is spending time with Draupadi, the others should not enter the apartments. The others should be outside. And if somebody happens to enter, they should exile themselves into the forest for 12 years. That is, go away into the forest for 12 years if they happen to enter and see the Pandava spending time with Draupadi. They put this rule in place. And they created that discipline, started living. One day, in Indraprastha, a Brahmana ran into the palace and said, King, save me. Arjuna was there. Arjuna asked, what happened? Said, a thief has stolen all my cattle and he's running away with it. All my cows and buffaloes, he's running away with it. So please save me. Please save my cattle. So Arjuna was duty bound. He was the king. He had to save whoever comes to him. Said, oh yeah, I have to save you. However, Arjuna's weapons were inside the apartment where Yudhishthira was spending time with Draupadi. Now he knew that if he goes into the apartment now, he would see them and he has to exile himself, go away into the forest for 12 years. But he also had to save somebody who came to him for his protection. He was in two minds. Finally, Arjuna decided that dharma, my duty, is more important. And he went into the apartment, took his weapons, ran after the thief, defeated the thief, got the cattle, and gave it back to this Brahmana and came to the palace. Once he came back to the palace, he told his brother, Yudhishthira, his elder brother, and said, I am going to go away into the forest. Yudhishthira asked, why? He said, I broke my promise. I shouldn't have entered the apartment. I had to do it because I had to protect somebody, but I still broke my promise. So I have to punish myself because I broke a promise and I'm going away into the forest. Yudhishthira said, no way. You did it for the right reasons. You had to protect whoever came to you. Why should you go away? I forgive you. Don't worry about it. But Arjuna said, it is not right. One, I broke the promise, so I have to pay for it. Two, what example am I going to set for the other brothers? Bhima, Nakula, Sahadeva. What example am I going to set if I set a precedent that I can break a promise? And three, years later, generations later, people are going to know about us. And we have to live such a life that people can look up to. We have to live such a life that people can look at us and say, we have to be like Arjuna. And in order to set an example, in order to be that person who kept his promise no matter what, I have to go away into the forest. Saying this, Arjuna took the blessing of his brother and his other brothers, took away all his costly clothes, king clothes, wore just white garment, and he exiled himself into the forest for 12 years, all alone by himself, and started wandering many places in that time. So the important lessons are two. One, this rule, any rule that we are often told by our parents, by the society, any rule like work, like marriage, like school, like what the teachers tell us, what principal tells us, any rules are only there so that it can create a discipline in us. And therefore, the rules are not bad. Two, if you make a promise, keep it. If you don't think you can keep the promise, don't make the promise. And three, we may be children today. Well, you may be children today or young today. One day you will grow up and there will be other children and they will have to look up to you and say, I have to be like him. He's a really good guy. And in order for living such a life that people can look up to us and say, he is the person or she is the person I want to emulate and be like, it is important that we follow the rules and we keep our promises. That is the story. Okay.